Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
We're good. So welcome in, everybody. The Huddle Up Podcast, presented, as always, by Mile High Huddle, powered by Blue Wire Pods. And I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest that you know and you love, Zack Kelberman. Guys, pardon us being a little bit later than our normal late selves. We had a little bit of a technical issue with our browser we had to figure out. But here we are. Zack, the Philadelphia Eagles, just a couple of days away. How you feeling?
I'm feeling like I don't want to be the Cowboys of week 10, Chad. And Amari Cooper talked about it today, that he said they showed up flat because you can't just get used to winning and expect that you're going to win no matter who you face. You have to go out there and earn it no matter the opponent. And I thought that's appropriate to what the Broncos were facing, the circumstance this week. They're on a 2-game winning streak. They just came off one of the biggest upsets of the entire season. They're riding high. They have a bye week in front of them and an opponent that on paper they should beat, not an overly great Eagles team. So I want the Broncos to go out there and play like this is a playoff game. I know it sounds stupid because the Eagles are far from that, and so you can make the case the Broncos are too, but you have to have that want to. You have to have the hunger. That's part of the reason why they blew the doors off Dallas in week 9. I want to see that same level of fight and intensity in week 10. I don't want to see them go backward.
That's what was missing for those 4 weeks, and we talked about it, how all it took was one blip, right? One speed bump in the road. And you could see the Broncos in week 4 against Baltimore get that, oh, shucks, here we go again, collective bug. And the eyes were cast to the dirt. There was no confidence. There was no intensity. And you could, for the next 3 weeks, really see that the light had left their eyes. I don't know how that changed. I don't know what changed, because it wasn't like, Zack, it was a sudden – I mean, I guess some could argue it was sudden, the way they kind of came out of nowhere to beat the Cowboys that way. But, you know, they lost to the Browns in a semi-humiliating fashion because you had Case Keenum getting his revenge on John Elway's Broncos. And then they kind of barely edged out Washington. And then they come back and thunderously curb stomp the Dallas Cowboys. The light is back in their eyes. They're playing with swagger. They're playing with confidence. And the word you use, Zack, or the phrase, I guess, they're playing with want to. That is so important. You got to want to be out there. You got to want to strive. You got to want to execute, and you got to want to win. Listen up, Broncos country. TickPick should be your first choice to buy football tickets, because they save fans money by never charging any service fees ever. TickPick is the exclusive ticketing partner for the Huddle Up Podcast and the Blue Wire Network.
Denver Broncos football is finally back, and there's no need to exhaust yourself searching all over the internet to find Broncos tickets anymore, because TickPick, that's TickPick, is the original no-fee ticket site and the only one you'll ever need as your go-to for all NFL tickets. TickPick got rid of all those awful service fees that the other ticket sites charge, which lets them guarantee the best prices on all of their NFL tickets. Don't believe it? If you can find better prices for the same seats on another ticket site, TickPick will give you 110% of the difference in the purchase price.
That's right, guys. When we were searching for tickets for the MHH meet and greet for week 3 at home, Broncos versus Jets, TickPick had us locked down. So visit tickpick.com/huddle today and use the promo code HUDDLE to save $10 on your first order of Broncos tickets.
Yeah, and just because they beat Dallas doesn't mean that we forgot that they lost to Cleveland, that they lost to the Raiders, that they lost to Pittsburgh. They got their tails beaten by the Baltimore Ravens pretty handily. So this is a team that's still pretty flawed. I don't think they're a championship contender, especially after only one game. It was Vic Fangio's finest hour of his tenure, the bar is also not super high for that mark to exceed. But regardless, they're in a good position here. I mean, everything is still in front of them. I just don't want any complacency. I don't want them peeking ahead. I don't want them reading their own press clippings. I mean, pick your cliche here. I want the Broncos to avoid it. If they can play up to the potential we saw last week, this game should be no problem. But how often have we said should, and the opposite has happened this year?
And that's what's so crazy is, you even despite all the personnel losses, right, to the injury bug, the loss of Von Miller on the trading block, this team, its potential is still a force to be reckoned with. But it's everything has to come together for the Broncos to really even kind of approach and scratch at what their potential is as a team. But it all comes back to that spiritual quest, that spiritual mandate you got to have if you're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NFL, especially as you reach the stretch run, Zach, and that is intensity, want to. And it's not just saying we want to win. It's not just everybody showing up to the meeting rooms and going through the motions and saying, yeah, we want to win. I mean, there was a lesson there in what Amari Cooper said in what you just talked about a few minutes ago, Zach, and that is that, so much. I mean, everyone in the league is talented. And what really separates the good teams from the mediocre teams is a multitude of different attributes that happen between the years. And for the Broncos, man, it's all about just playing with that intensity. That's what I want to see. Intensity, want to. And then I think all things are possible regardless of the opponent. Zach, here's Christian jumping in. Thank you, buddy. He says, hey, boys, I'm really interested in a career like this or something in journalism. I'm wondering where you both went to college and for how long and what you studied there. As always, MHH is the best. Well, hey, bro, I'll tell you this, and then I'll let Zach answer. If you want to get into digital sports media, learn something about journalism, learn something about creative writing in terms of how to construct a sentence and things like that, right? But you don't need to go, necessarily get a bachelor's degree. Start blogging. Right. It's all about reps today. Start repping, start getting out there and, start your own website. It's free basically nowadays. Go get a WordPress site. Zach, that's how you started rocking it on your own. I mean, as you were going to college and whatnot, I mean, it's all about getting those reps. And they say it takes 10,000 reps to be or 10,000 hours, to become an expert at something. And so you got to get that time on task, my friend.
That is so well said, and that's such a point that no one ever talks about when it comes to this industry. I mean, Chad, I can do the whole podcast on this topic. Really, there's so much to talk about. Christian, this is not a field like being a doctor, being a lawyer, being an engineer. I feel like I'm not discouraging you from going to school and studying this, but like Chad said, writing and experience and doing will serve you better than just sitting in the classroom and having another person tell you what to do. I feel like writing is also innate. You either have it or you don't. It's like singing, it's like acting, it's like painting, it's a skill. And if you have that, you have to hone that. I started my own blog when I was I was a sophomore in high school, and I had it all the way through up until college. And the number one piece of advice I give people who want to write is just start writing. Whether it's as a career, whether you're focusing on one story. Chad, you know this when you're staring at the cursor on the screen. Just write. Get the words out there, and the rest will come to you. I went to FAU, though. I was there. I got my bachelor's in arts from FAU. Go Owls before they became popular, and they had Lane Kiffin. But really, I wouldn't devote your life savings or $50,000, $70,000 into journalism when, like you said, Chad, back in my day, you had to code the pages yourself on these blogs. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you click a button and 5 seconds later you have a blog. All you got to do is supply the words. So I would recommend what Chad said, start a blog, find your niche. Some guys are cap guys. Some guys are data guys. Some guys are film guys, draft guys, college guys. Yeah, news guys, free agency guys. That's where, you have to kind of find your niche. And once you do and you hone in on that, it doesn't become a chore. It doesn't become a task. It doesn't become work. It becomes fun, and it's a hobby and a passion that you put into.
You don't have to get a college degree to make it in digital sports media. Now, if you want to go get a job as a beat writer for like a local paper, or you want to get a job, say, with ESPN or something like that, yeah, you're going to need that. But if you just want to crack into digital media, I mean, look, I didn't set out to be sitting in this chair. Like, it wasn't some grand design. It was me just being a creative weirdo that loved to write and talk about the Denver Broncos. And one thing led to another. But it all starts with the urge and the urge to create. And as Zach said, get down in front of that blank sheet and just start. It's just like stream of consciousness. As long as you have a topic, right? I don't care what it is. Drew Lock, go. What do you have to say about Drew Lock, Christian? Sit down and write it. All right. And then just let it flow. Don't be overcritical. Just go. All right, buddy. We got to move on though. Orange Crush 7. What's good, big dog? Let's keep the momentum going, he says. Love the Color Rush week. Best logo in NFL history. Make these helmets and jerseys permanent with white pants. Go Broncos. I'd love to see that combination with the white pants, but more than anything, I think the most realistic thing here is the possibility that someday the Broncos might, because the cool thing about the Color Rush helmet, Zach, is you've got the darker blue of the modern Broncos, the 97 and on Broncos, mixed with the old D from the powder blue Bronco helmets, right? And so that marriage, I think it would be rad to be permanent, but for whatever reason, there's not a push within the team to do that, Zach. And I think it has a lot to do with trademarks and the rigmarole of branding and all that stuff. I mean, it's a pretty big deal for a team to suddenly change its logo that it is most known for.
Yeah, I think I don't think I'm a minority by saying this, or in the minority. I mean, I love the Broncos original uniforms, the ones they have now. They're modern ones. I think they're some of the freshest uniforms in all of the NFL. I would like this logo to be the Broncos' permanent logo for the helmets, but one thing I want to avoid is the all orange Color Rush uniforms. Burn those, fire them off into the sun. They should not exist.
I would be interested, though, to see him in the white pants one time, but we're not going to get that because the whole point of Color Rush is it's a uniform color jersey and pants with a unique helmet. Travis Tarbox, what's good, brother? Appreciate you. As always, my friend. He says, evening priest and Broncos country, going into our bye week, a win would be huge heading into our division games. That's right, because, if you can get this win at home, you go into the bye at 6-4, and then you lick your wounds, you get ready for battle, because the stretch run, Zach, final 7 games, 5 of your 6 division games are going to be played in that final 7 frames.
Yeah, you got to, stack the wins where you can get them. We talked about this early in the season. The Broncos did that, getting off to a 3-0 start. But on paper, all the games, they're not played on paper. On paper, the Broncos should beat them, but we've seen them blow opportunity after opportunity, and they can't take Jalen Hurts lightly. And Jalen Hurts is a sneaky quarterback, Chad. I think he's 3rd in quarterback fantasy points up until this point. I know that's not a big barometer of success in real life NFL, but he can do some damage. They have some receivers that can give the Broncos problems. I think they're getting back Miles Sanders this week at running back. They have a talented front 7 on defense. Never underestimate any opponent. And that's the number one thing I'm worried about, is them looking ahead of them and into their bye week.
Real quick, just want to give everybody an update where we stand on the Facebook goal, trying to get to 200,000 stars. When we do, we're going to raffle off a Broncos jersey of the winner's choosing. And the only people in the running are those who contribute to the goal. Of course, stars, for those who don't know, if you're on Facebook, is a way that our Facebook community can financially support this channel, our publication, these podcasts, each and every show. As it stands, we are 69% complete to our goal for the month of November. So we still, Zach, have a pretty solid shot between now and the 15th to hit the goal of 200,000, at which point we'll do the raffle and start a new goal within the month of November. We might end up being able to raffle off more than one in this month. And here's who's in the running, right? The more people, the more times someone has starred, the more they've contributed to the goal, the more tickets they have in the hat. Rando, up in the Great White North of Alaska, leads the way. Appreciate your brother. Andrew Lampy at number 2, Travis Weber at 3, Michael Ronquillo 4, Shane Daniels 5, Josh Hoyle 6, Tim Hoffman 7, Lawrence Rivera 8, Doug Raquel 9, Howie Frickin' Day 10, and then a few other Hall of Fame, Ring of Fame caliber cats right there at 11, and Andrew Baker, Matt Beatty, Pete Middleton, Mike Reno. So we'll do some super chat updates here in a little bit, but FYI, and thank you, Kirby. Appreciate you, buddy. Lawrence wants to know, hey guys, gonna have to catch the show later. Oh, I'm slammed, but had to show love. That's a ride or die shotgun homeboy right there. Love you, Lawrence. Appreciate that. Chris Hernandez, thank you, my friend. A 26, I want to say 26, Chris, year veteran of the United States Air Force. Of course, we are grateful. Our hats are off to all of our veterans and current active armed forces. And Chris is legendary. Chris has been with us here at MHH for a long time. we're also brothers in punk rock back in the day. And I still love that profile pic, dude. It's legendary. So thank you, bro.
Thanks as always, Chris, and happy veterans to anyone, any veterans out there. Happy Veterans Day.
Miguel says, what's up, fellas? Even if we make the playoffs, I still want a different OC. I feel you, but that's not really Vic Fangio's style, is it, Zach? He kind of he picks his guys, and then the ship either floats or it goes down. And if it goes down, he's going with them.
I mean, common logic would dictate that if Vic Fangio sticks around, he's probably going to keep around Pat Shurmur. But then again, he fired Scangarello after Scangarello had success to end the season. So you never really know. But I would put my money on Shurmur sticking around if Fangio does.
A question here from Daniel wants to know where we would rank the Broncos defense amongst those in the league. Stay tuned, Daniel, because later in the show, we're going to dive into that. Not just where we would rank them, but where they actually are ranked in multiple categories. Today being Thursday, the Mile High Mailbag. It's that time of the week where traditionally we take a peek inside the minds of our community because we are your football priests. And each and every week, we're here to offer you the absolution and answers to your burning Broncos questions. But Thursday night, Zach, also reserved for, during the season anyway, our head-to-head look at the next opponent. We're going to go through that here in a little bit. So we'll talk about the defense and all that stuff. Okay, let me see. I'm going to scroll down here. By the way, Zach, did you get a chance to see what Quinn Miners had to say? He was asked today about his prodigious gut, right? And whether or not fans are going to be able to get get more looks at the gut because, you don't really see it during the games themselves. Or if fans can see it at practice. And yes, Travis, we hope that Shurmur sticks with the run. Yes, indeed. Here's what Quinn Miners said on that topic, Zach. Out of the mouth of babes type comment. It makes you realize that this dude is a special unit. He said, quote, I guess the answer to that question is I'm a rookie, first of all. Second of all, I'm a professional now. I'm not going out looking for attention or anything like that. I want to lay low, earn my stripes, earn my place in the National Football League, and earn myself a spot here with the Denver Broncos in the future, close quote. I got to tell you, even though there's nothing like earth-shattering in that comment, for a guy that had earned a little publicity and notoriety because of his gut, I was happy to see him say what he said.
I think you and I are going to take two different approaches to this. Let me just be an old man for a second. This is what I was talking about with, you go on a winning streak and sometimes it gets too big into your head. Why are we talking about this? I mean, really, he's not the first lineman to show off his stomach. He won't be the last lineman. I never really kind of understood the allure about looking at this guy's stomach all day long and him keeping it out there. But would he have gotten this question, though, if the Broncos lost to the Cowboys? I mean, you have to wonder the context and the situation. It doesn't make a difference either way. Maybe I'm just not a fan of the gut, so I'm not a fan of the question.
It's neither here nor there, but here's another cool thing that kind of helps you understand his mindset when the Broncos call a run play. When Pat Shurmur decides, hey, let's do something different and call a run. Miners, of course, as a run blocking guard is just, in my opinion, he and Netani Muti, both of them still pretty raw, but especially Muti, they're maulers, man. They get after it. And you can really see that mindset here in what Quinn says. He says, that's, quote, that's what you're trying to do every single play as far as pancaking guys. When you have those run calls, you're trying to impose your will on another person. When you have those pancakes, it definitely is like a huge rush of excitement and, hey, let's keep running the ball. That's the kind of mindset when going after those. So, Zach, let's just hope that Pat Shurmur realized the model here. You want Teddy to play efficient. You want Teddy to be upright. You want Teddy to move the offense, run the ball, get that running game going. Don't give up if it's not first succeeding early in the game. Keep establishing the run. GLP, what's up, buddy? Love you.
And, that's the thing about establishing the run game. You can't be scared to stick with it even when it's not working. It's so easy to take to the air, go off play action, go out of the gun, Chad, launch it downfield. But when you have two good running backs and a rookie that's sensational right now, even if it doesn't work in the beginning, stick with it and you'll get the payoff. And I think both running backs showed that it's possible against Dallas.
A question, it's a long one here, so I'm just going to flash. So DeAndre, shout out to DeAndre. I'm going to read it here. He says, if the Broncos find a way to pull this game out and get to 6-4 heading into the bye week and win 3 straight games, they will be in contention and playing meaningful games in November and December for the first time in 5 or 6 years. Well, if you can remember, I know it feels like, these 5 or 6 years feel like it's been 30 years, right? The depredations. But in 2018, the Case Keenum season, the Broncos dug themselves a little hole, and then they went on a run. They won 3 in a row, and that was when Philip Lindsay popped. It was right after the Royce Freeman injury in week 7. It was weeks, I want to say 8 through 11, and there was a bye in there somewhere. And they dug themselves back into playoff contention. So when they got into November, it was late November, they had a chance. They were now back in the conversation for a wild card, but they blew it. So that was meaningful football. Did they capitalize? No, Zach.
I'm just seeing Nico Arabe has to kind of chill in the side chat here, spamming. I appreciate. Yeah, Scott got him. We don't care about your Eagles here, Nico. We'll see you Sunday.
We'll see you Sunday, big dog. Okay, let me see here. I'm going to pull up. If you want to grab a comment or two real quick, Zach, I'm going to pull up the sheet so we can start taking a look here at these Eagles.
Yeah. I definitely agree with someone said it's easy when you write about something that you're passionate about. 100%. I mean, that's in this business. You're not doing it for the money or for the fame or for the allure. You're doing it because you love it. And that's another piece of advice we can give to Christian and anyone interested. Here,
guys,
James.
If you're actually, real quick, Zach, if you're actually interested in writing and stuff like that, and you can send stuff to milehighhuddle@gmail.com, not as, some kind of a resume, but if you're looking for little pointers here and there, someone to kind of grade your work a little bit in the business, I'll get back to you. So you can send that to us, but just, unless I get overwhelmed with and spammed with like hundreds of people sending me Word documents to critique their stuff. But no, for real, you want me to take a look, send it. We'll take a look.
I got my red pen handy. James Koch, James Koch, however you pronounce your last name, James, we appreciate
I've seen both pronunciations, by the way.
Speaking of running backs, James asks, what has happened with Mike Boone? That's a good question. I think Pat Shurmur happened to Mike Boone like Pat Shurmur has happened to pretty much every player on the Broncos offense. But, I mean, honestly, in fairness, though, right now you have Javonte, the reigning rookie of the week, by the way, hats off to Pookie.
Yep.
Melvin running pretty strong for his money and earning what future money he's going to make. When you have those two cooking right now and you're still trying to feed Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, Albert O, Cortland Sutton, you can't feed everyone. So Mike Boone is a distant third on that depth chart.
He's basically got one touch on offense since he's gotten back from injured reserve, and it was like a 3-yard reception. He's mostly been called up to play special teams. And on one hand, it's hard to fully blame the Broncos when you have Melvin Gordon and Pookie both playing really well for the last couple of weeks. It's kind of coincided with Mike Boone's return, by the way, to the active roster. But at the same time, you're paying this guy decent. Like, you're paying this guy, Mike Boone, more than you were willing to pay Philip Lindsay had you not rescinded the original round tender, and he's not getting an offensive touch to save his life. So I would still think that despite the fact that you have Melvin and Pookie really kind of zoning, chugging, keep feeding the hot hand on Pookie in particular, but throw a few reps, throw a few touches, throw a few carries to Mike Boone because the dude's got some skills.
Basically, Mike Boone is the new Royce Freeman, and that's not very complimentary. It means
we worried that this might happen with Zach's camera. That's one of the reasons we were delayed, is trying to figure out troubleshoot. He's back. There we go.
And sometimes I hate technology. I'm not going to lie, but
it can be a bummer sometimes.
Basically, they don't need him right now, so they're not playing him. And you don't have to give Pat Shurmur a lot more reason not to play someone than he already has.
But you know what? He's a guy that is it's good to have him waiting in the wings if you need him. James Grossman says, I loved watching that 38-yard Williams run on a loop. I'm feeling good about the next game. I think we have some significant positive momentum going into it. Go Broncos. I do too. I really do. But it's like Teddy talked about on Wednesday. Losing those 4 games, that 4-game stretch, builds character in a sense. If you have the wherewithal to try and find what lessons there are to learn from that 4-game losing streak, but winning and winning handily, Zach, also builds character. And so those two sides of the pendulum, which way are the Broncos as a collective going to swing? Are they going to swing towards we're the team that dominated the Cowboys, buying into our own press clippings? Because when you do that, you get performances like you saw from the Cowboys against the Broncos in week 9. Whereas, like Teddy said, if we can keep fresh in our minds what it felt like during that 0-4 stretch and stay resolved to never let that happen again, I think that is kind of the spiritual theme for them to hold on to. And here's the Duchess, Zach, jumping in with a huge super chat for the night. Thank you so much, Michaela. And she says, Boone is an expensive special teams member.
Pretty much.
Indeed.
Chad, you made the greatest point there. And I think that's what has to be kind of kept in mind about the Broncos. It's one thing to celebrate the Cowboys' victory and for what it was, but you don't have to overthink it either. And that's what Vic Fangio said that I agree with. You can talk about motivation and all the psychological BS, as he put it, behind it. You go out there, you execute your job, and you'll more than likely will win the game. And it's no coincidence that the coaching was better. Their performances on the field were better. And it all worked hand in hand. So if they go in there, Chad, they don't get too ahead of themselves. They don't overlook the Eagles. They don't start to plan their bye-week vacations. I think they can come out with a victory. But this is the same question we posed after 3-0. Who are the real Broncos? Are they a team that's going to keep it going and take down better competition? That was a fat no to that question against the Ravens. Or are they a team that met adversity, overcame adversity, and now they're hitting their stride? That's what they have to answer. And that's why this is the biggest test of the season on Sunday, in my opinion.
Michaela, just so you know, that, again, I mean, sometimes it comes off like, just another day. But I'm telling you right now, we appreciate that level of support. And it's not just today. It's very often from you. So love you, my friend. Appreciate you. Doug Raquel on Facebook. Appreciate you too, buddy. He says, a win this week, 6-4 at the bye is better than I hope. Take care from Butte, Montana. Appreciate that, bro. Yes. We'll see. Here's the thing. If you think about it, Zach, and this might be kind of a glass half full philosophy or outlook, but if you were to pick between two scenarios, one, a team starts like the first half of the season super hot, let's say, like the Cowboys, 6-1, 6-2, and then their best ball is now in their rear view. Right. They hit the stretch run when teams really start ramping up and separating and they crumble. Or do you want to be that team that was kind of rolling through the punches, did not play its best ball early on, but kind of found itself along the way and then suddenly finds its stride when the games really matter most? It's convenient to say that that's the one I would prefer, to be honest with you. It wouldn't necessarily, Zach, have to include an 0-4 stretch, right, in October, but still, the Broncos starting 3-0 right on. Maybe you lose a couple in a row, then you bounce back, you lose one, win two, that type of thing. Didn't need to be 4 games, obviously, but that's my outlook on this team is if it's going to break in their direction, they're hitting their stride at the right time.
What you were saying reminded me of a meme I saw on Twitter a couple days ago. It said pretty much you were either funny in middle school or you're a successful adult now. And it's true for life, but it's true for the NFL as well. You don't want to be a team that peaked too early. I mean, I always reference this, but the 2007 Giants are one of the best examples of all time. They were a team that barely made the playoffs, but they got hot at the right time. They found their collective mark at the right time, and you saw what happened. They rode that momentum all the way to a title. Not saying it's going to happen with the Broncos, but 6-4, you would have told me that, Chad, after 10 weeks, the Broncos would be 6-4 with Teddy Bridgewater, Vic Fangio, and Pat Shurmur. I would have signed up for that.
Yeah. I mean, they have a chance. It's cliche what George Payton said, but the Broncos are in the thick of things. And really, that's all you can ask for, knowing what obstacles this team has had to overcome, and also just knowing the imperfections of this squad entering this campaign. Travis Weber, good to see you, brother. Appreciate you as always, my friend. He says, a little late to the show. Much love to MHH and a mile-high salute to our veterans. Amen to that, big dog. Thank you. Whoops. Dave from Georgia, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you. He says, what's up, Priest? I love the energy Kenny Young has brought with him. Who do you think pays the price, Jewell or Johnson? Broncos Country Football Priest, state of being. That's a really good question. I err on the side of if the Broncos are going to be inclined to throw some money at one of those two, it's going to be AJ. because AJ's just been a more consistent player in the 3 years now, two years and a couple of games under Fangio. He's just been more consistent and available. Josie Jewell, let us not forget, lost his starting job to Alexander Johnson because of injury, and now he's injured again.
Right.
He just
Good point.
has had some bad luck with the injury bug. This is the first and only injury Alexander Johnson has suffered as a pro that, caused him to miss any time anyway. So I'm inclined to think that if you're going to err on the side of Johnson. But as you answer this, Zach, I'm curious if you saw what Teddy had to say about Kenny Young and his kind of influence on the locker room.
Yeah, I saw some of the quotes and I saw what Kenny Young said about staying around in Denver. He said it's a special place and he's gotten accustomed to Colorado. And just the support among the fans and the media for him to already resign and get a long-term deal with Denver, I think is pretty cool. I really do feel like Kenny Young was here for the long haul, not just for this season. You can make the case they should bring back either Jewell or Johnson. I don't think both are coming back. It depends on the coaching staff. I think Fangio is a fan of both here. Peyton has no loyalty to either. But Johnson was the number 3 overall linebacker according to PFF at the time of his injury. So he was playing really good football at the off-ball position. And I think, like you said, Chad, he's a little more explosive. They're both good against the run, but I think he offers a little more. And if you want to bring him back and pair him with Kenny Young, pair them with Baron Browning, that you're talking about some young, fast, long-term inside linebacking unit.
That'd be a unit with some juice. Here's what I was talking about. So Teddy Bridgewater has a little bit of a history with Kenny Young. Here's what he said yesterday. Well, first of all, I'm going to read 2 quotes. One, here's Teddy, quote, "Kenny, he's just a guy who loves ball. He has a football DNA with his upbringing. He has some brothers who played ball as well. You watch film, it's just his energy and his mindset." And then he went on to say, he's been in places that have had success. He knows what it should look like and things like that. He's a guy who comes in with the mindset that the standard needs to be raised. He's only been here a couple of weeks. To have a guy like that on the team, and then he's making plays on Sundays, you can't do anything but root for a guy like him. He's a guy who I've connected with over the past couple of weeks, close quote. So I like that, Zach, coming in and just not necessarily like gathering all these new faces around him and saying, hey, let me tell you guys something. Y'all need to get better. Y'all suck. Let's raise some standards. No, it's just his mindset. It's the energy that he puts off. It's how he says things to his teammates. And then, of course, how he conducts himself as a player, both on and off the field, that screams to everybody in that locker room, yo, we got to raise our standards. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Broncos start playing better the way they have. Kenny Young all of a sudden in Denver, just as much as I don't believe it was a coincidence that their best game of the season came days after Von Miller was traded.
Exactly, yeah. Teddy should be that guy, though. The guy that he described in that quote, he should be that guy for the entire team. But on defense, they don't really have that. I mean, who do you look towards? Shelby or Dre'Mont Jones, Simmons, Kareem Jackson? They don't have someone with that energy, that natural passion for the game where he's just a banshee with his hair on fire, Chad, running all over the field. And like you said it best, it's no coincidence the defense has looked faster, played faster, and played better overall since Kenny Young's been in the lineup. If you watch the film, even watch a condensed version of the game on the NFL's YouTube channel, every time either Pollard or Zeke Elliott leaked out of the backfield, Kenny Young was step for step with them. That's not easy. And when's the last Broncos inside linebacker to do that? You're going back 5-6 years now.
Guys, as you know, and well said, we're also running a raffle, goal, giveaway, whatever, contest for our YouTube community. And the way it's going to shake out is the top 5 finishers on Super Chat in the month of November. Their 5 names will go into a hat, raffle, pick a winner. They get a Broncos jersey of their choice. And those who aren't in the top 5, each tier will also raffle off some little MHH care packages so everyone feels like they got a chance for something who are contributing to what we're doing here. But Zach, we have some serious shakeups in the top 5 on Super Chat for the month of November. First off, the DWI guys who are big on the morning show with Scott and Nick, Broncos for Breakfast, climbed to the top right now. The Duchess at number 2, Naj Altaf at number 3, Casey Nickel, who was not ranked before last night, has now climbed to number 4. And then tied with him is Dale, D-Dub, great friend, great member of our community, Mount Rushmore superstar. And then that's your top 5 technically, with Corey H just outside, Cody Dub just outside, Clado and Kayaka just outside. And then you can see also Justin Martin, Seth Harmon, both of whom have climbed of late. So shout out to each and every one of you. And Lando Lee, props, buddy. Thank you for the stars.
Salute.
Yvonne, down in Mexico, proves Broncos country is not a geographic location, baby. It's a state of being. He says, hey, guys, do you think Pat Shurmur will continue with a similar game plan as last week? Or will we return to the old Shurmur? You know, Yvonne, I don't know, man. I don't trust Pat Shurmur enough to be able to count on him, you know, recognizing that water is wet. I hope so, but I got to see it a couple of times, you know, in a row. Like, I got to see some presence of mind here, Zach, some feel for just what kind of horses he's got at his disposal. I hope so, Yvonne. I am hopeful that he does, but, you know, that was such a decisive and eye-opening win, Zach. I'm hoping that some of the eyes that were, you know, cranked open were that of the coaches as well. I mean, there were some real moments of epiphany for those who were watching.
Yeah, I'm with you. Pat Shurmur has to click all the cars he sees to verify he's not a bot, you know? I mean, we have to see if he's legit or not, if he's a real live human being calling plays that has a feel for the game. So, yeah, I think Chad obviously said it best there. We can't trust anyone right now, from quarterback to coach to anyone on this team, except for a small handful of players. But Pat Shurmur is number one on the untrustworthy scale. If he can show that he learned from last week, that'd be a great thing. But up to this point, he's proven that he won't, you know, stick to what works. He's that stubborn. We have to hope that changes.
Let's grab Colby here, and then we'll do some head-to-head comparisons. We got a little bit of time, but it's getting to that point where if we're going to do head-to-head, we got to get started on it. But first, Colby says, let's get that winning streak going this week. Go Broncos. I got my MHH shirt a couple days ago. It's really cool and good quality. Thanks, Priest. Well, send us the selfie, dude. We'll put it up on MHH Instagram. And if I'm not mistaken, Colby, you won that as one of the 5-star reviewers in the month of September, correct? Either way, send us that selfie, buddy. And Tim, bro, flexing hard on Facebook. Thank you. He says, I love watching Williams. It reminds me of Willis McGahee a little. If we lose playing at our house this weekend again, then go into the bye, coming out against the Chargers, good luck. Personally, I believe we will pull off this win. Go Broncos. Yeah, I'm optimistic. We're going to save our exact picks, though, for the game for tomorrow's Mile High Roundtable article at milehighhuddle.com, so stay tuned for that. You know,
you can pick a lot of running backs. And again, Vic Fangio, by the way, Chad, pointed to Edgerrin James, Pro Football Hall of Famer, to liken Javonte to. I see a combination of Marshawn Lynch and Nick Chubb, though. And if you got either of those players in Javonte Williams, boy, do you got a good one for the long term.
All right, let's go through some of these numbers. I know there's a few other comments, questions, stars, super chats that we will get to, but let's do some quick head-to-head comparisons here. Week 10, the Denver Broncos, 5-4, Eagles at 3-6. As we go through these rankings, remember, green signifies a top 10 statistical mark, red, bottom 10, and if it's black, that just means in between. All right. Turnover margin, the Broncos, Zach, have clawed back to 0. So that's good. That's good. They're not minus, because they've been minus since, Peyton Manning, since before Peyton Manning hung up his cleats, to be honest with you. Since I think the last time the Broncos finished plus in the turnover margin was 2014. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. Meanwhile, the Eagles, pretty efficient or relatively efficient at +1. That means that they have taken the ball away one time more than they've given it away. Time of possession, though, the Broncos still top 10. And that game against the Cowboys, Zach, really helped them. I mean, they possessed it 41 minutes to 18 and change for the Dallas Cowboys. So this is something that is a product of a productive running game, and it's really been helped, especially by the last couple of games. But this is, again, screaming to Pat Shurmur, don't abandon the run, even if early on in the game it's not, popping off the dividends that you hope.
Yeah, if you hold on to the ball and don't turn the ball over, your chances of winning just skyrocket. It's common NFL logic.
All right, let's look at these offenses head-to-head. Now, the Broncos, when last we were looking at this, a lot of red in their column here. They've clawed back into the black, which is good. They're still quite a ways off from greens where they really need to be, but still, we're seeing progress. So, in net yards per game, your Denver Broncos are the 18th ranked offense with 346 per game, while the Eagles are 17th with 346. So, these are very mirror image in terms of production offenses. As far as points per game, the Eagles have the Broncos beat by quite a ways. They're averaging 25 points a game, 11th in the league. Broncos just under 21 points a game, 22nd. Rushing, this is, for now, Philadelphia's offensive calling card. They are the 6th ranked rushing offense, averaging just under 137 yards per game. And the Broncos, no slouches, all right, 13th outside the top 10, averaging 113 per game. Passing, the Eagles there's only 4 teams worse, or let's see, 9, 30, 31, 4 teams worse. I don't math well than them as far as passing goes. The Broncos, they've clawed back into kind of the middle part. They're ranked 19th with 232 passing yards per game, and then had intercepted. Look at all the green we're getting into now for the Eagles. So this is not the wounded duck, easy mark that a lot of, I think, fans make Philadelphia out to be. They have only been picked off 4 times. They've only lost the ball 3 times on a fumble. Sacks allowed, Zach, they've only allowed 15 sacks, which is the 10th fewest in the NFL. 29. And then their third down percentage, they are converting 44% of their third down tries, which is ranked 9th in the league. And they're converting a whopping 72% of their red zone possessions into touchdowns. That's ranked 3rd. Whereas the Broncos, there's only one team that's given up more sacks this year than the Denver Broncos. And third down, they're 22nd with 37% conversion. And then in red zone, Zach, and then I want to serve it back to you. They're only converting 55% of their red zone tries into touchdowns, which ranks 22nd. But this is interesting.
The Broncos have gotten better on third down and in the red zone. I didn't realize how good Philadelphia was in those departments, especially in the red zone, 3rd in the NFL. I wonder what the Broncos were in rushing going into the Cowboys game, though, because I think they're 11th now. They've climbed up the charts. That is the key if they want to slow down Philadelphia's offense, because Philadelphia's offense runs through Jalen Hurts. He is the ball carrier. He is the ball thrower. He is the whole Eagles offense. And if they can keep him off the field, similar to Lamar Jackson, their chances of winning just go up exponentially there. 29 sacks allowed, though. That's surprising to me because we build the Broncos O-line as a potential top 10 line. We didn't think they were that bad enough to give up, the second most sacks in the entire league. Some of those are on Teddy, kind of hanging in the pocket, holding onto the ball, but they've been a sieve. More often than not.
To the answer to your question, Zach, I just pulled it up. Going into the Cowboys game, the Broncos were the 20th ranked rushing offense, averaging 103 yards per game. So they've climbed ever so slightly to
7.
Yeah, they've climbed 7 spots. So props to them.
Imagine that.
Let's take a look at the defense comparisons. All right, the Broncos are the 6th defense in the 6th ranked anyway in allowing yards per game. The Eagles are right in the middle of the pack, 15th. As far as relinquishing points, only one team allows fewer points per game than the Denver Broncos, who are averaging a stingy 17 points per game, whereas the Eagles, they're allowing 24 points per game. All right, net rushing, the Broncos are top 10. They're allowing 98.3 yards per game on the ground, which is the 6th fewest in the league, and the 8th ranked passing defense, relinquishing 223, whereas again, Philly, middle of the pack in both those areas. Neither one of these teams, Zach, as a defense, are good at taking the ball away. But the Broncos do have 7 interceptions to the Eagles' 6 and 3 fumble recoveries to the Eagles' 2. So 10 total takeaways. Eagles have 8 total. And then in sacks, this is what blows my mind, because if you think about it, Zach, Von Miller stopped sacking the quarterback after the Baltimore game. Right? I think maybe a half sack, if that, from the Baltimore game until when he was traded. And yet the Broncos have 22 on the season, which is tied for the 9th most in the NFL.
And no Chubb.
No Chubb, correct, exactly. And meanwhile, the Eagles, 17 sacks on the season, ranked 22nd. But neither one of these teams. So remember, Fangio's calling card, the one thing he could hang his hat on since he came to Denver was that number 1 red zone defense 2 years in a row. they have fallen quite precipitously this year. They're ranked 12th, allowing touchdowns on 55.6% of opponent drives, whereas, look at this, Eagles, they're allowing 70% of their opponents' red zone drives to result in touchdowns. And then they're about the same on third down. They're both giving up about 44% conversions.
Chad, scroll up for a second. See that right there, guys? Points per game, rushing per game, passing yards allowed per game, 2nd, 6th, and 8th, and total yards 6. Those numbers, that's what we thought the Broncos would be producing. That's what the most expensive defense in the NFL, with the no-fly zone 2.0 and Fangio at the helm, that is finally what we thought the Broncos were going to be. And the Eagles, I mean, you look at their red zone, Chad, 69%. More than 2/3 of the time, they're allowing a touchdown in the red zone. The Broncos offense should have no issue punching it in. I mean, this should be a game on paper. Once again, the Broncos can win going away, but could is the operative word.
Yep. If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, right, we all would have a Merry Christmas. All right, we're at 44 minutes. We got to get out of here pretty soon, so let's grab a few more. Anything burning on your mind, guys, get them in. Travis Tarbox says, do you guys think we will bring Melvin Gordon back next year or try to find his replacement in the draft to pair with Pookie? I'd be stunned if Melvin Gordon is a Bronco next year, but crazier things have happened.
I mean, only because if he plays this well going forward, another team is going to pay him. Why would the Broncos invest a multi-year, potentially market resetting contract when you have Javonte waiting in the wings? It makes no sense from a business standpoint.
Andrew Baker also tipping his cap to the vets. Love that, buddy. And thank you for the stars. He says, happy Veterans Day to all who served, all gave some and some gave all us. Hashtag MHH for life. Love it, dude. Appreciate that. We are big time supporters of the military at Mile High.
Big time. Yeah.
Andrew Lampy, what's good, buddy? Appreciate the stars. Appreciate your support as always. Hello, right back at you. Okay, let me see here. Based Gase, longtime Super Chat superstar. Appreciate you. He says, Kenny Pickett is making an impression now with George Payton at the game. Do we see Teddy Two Gloves mentoring Kenny Two Gloves next season? It's possible, man. I mean, depending on where the Broncos ultimately fall in the draft, George Payton, through his trades and, maneuvers, Zach, is positioning himself to have the ammunition to either go after a quarterback on the trade market or to move up in the draft. It's just a matter of, if it's the draft, who does Payton identify, if anyone, worthy of taking somewhere in the first round? Maybe it's Kenny Pickett. Time will tell. And by the way, George Payton, condolences. He lost his father to Alzheimer's. And also condolences, while we're on the subject, to MHH staff writer, former Super Chat superstar Mike Evans, who also lost his father just a couple days ago. So love you, Mike. Prayers up to the Evans fam.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to segue back to football after that, but the Broncos now have been on hand to see Kenny Pickett. They were on hand to see Matt Corral and Malik Willis. So you can take that as a sign that how serious the Broncos are in Teddy Bridgewater if they're actively scouting his potential replacement while the season's still going on. But I think that's the way they're leaning right now. That's the way Chad and I have been saying, with warning you, don't expect an Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, Malik Willis, Carson Strong. One of those quarterbacks I think could be in orange and blue next year. I wouldn't mind Teddy mentoring Pickett, who I get kind of Justin Herbert vibes from, Chad. But it would depend who's calling plays, moreover, for Kenny Pickett. If it's Pat Shurmur, I don't know about that. You need a real elite mind to maximize Pickett's potential and get him to that franchise level. I don't think Pat Shurmur is the one to do that.
Charlie Young says, Team Young headed up from Florida to see the Broncos this weekend. We are stoked. Let's go. Awesome, dude. Hopefully you get to see a nice win. But, yeah, guys, don't sleep on Philadelphia. Are they beatable? Yes. One of the things that gives me optimism is that some of their biggest weaknesses as a club kind of feed into what the Broncos' strengths are. But again, it comes down to, on a given Sunday, that want to thing, right? That spiritual wherewithal. Who wants it more? So let's hope it's the Broncos this time. Leroy, what's good, buddy? He says, what's up, guys? Just waking up, doing back-to-back doubles at work. Man, that's tough. Still clowning at work on the win Sunday, living in Cowboys Nation. I'm still clowning. We are going to beat my hometown Philly Eagles this weekend. Mile High salute. Love it, dude. Appreciate that. And yes, you got some bragging rights if you're in Cowboys Nation. That's for sure.
And I can tell you those in Cowboys Nation right now are in shambles after the Broncos just ass whipping that they laid on the hometown Cowboys last week. So Broncos fans can take some solace in that. They really threw the Cowboys for a loop.
Andrew Lampy says, is anyone else concerned about the floater balls Teddy's throwing across the middle? Already lost one wide receiver with the knee, and he threw 2 to Judy last week. You know, every quarterback at times is going to throw a hospital ball. It's usually inadvertent. They're not necessarily trying to get anybody hurt. But with Teddy, I mean, you can minimize the risk of that, Zach, by just staying true to that running game. Just keep hammering the rock. And especially with Quinn Miners out there, you know, Calvin Anderson, he relinquished a few pressures, no sacks in his start last week for Garrett Bowles at left tackle, but he was a beast as a run blocker. So you got the horses out there, Pat. Just keep pushing that, asserting the rushing attack.
I mean, they're only hospital balls when they're hospital balls. It's like it's genius when it works, and you're the goat and the villain when it doesn't work. And that's the thing. Sometimes you throw a floater to Judy, he makes a 30-yard, 40-yard gain, maybe a touchdown. The other time you throw it to KJ Hamler and he wrecks his knee. So I don't love it, but like Chad said, every quarterback throws those. It doesn't matter who you are, and it's part of playing the position in the NFL as a wide receiver. You got to brace for him.
Pat McCracken wants to know, I think we started 7-4 in 2015. If our defense plays like it did in Dallas the rest of the way, is there any chance of a Super Bowl run? FYI, Peyton Manning was kind of done in 2015 also. It's just not an apples to apples comparison, my friend. Like, don't delude yourself into that same thinking that plagued the Broncos for 5-6 years post Super Bowl 50, which was, we are one middle of the road Case Keenum, middle of the road Trevor Siemian, middle of the road Brock Osweiler, middle of the road Joe Flacco away from winning it all again. I hope so. I hope this team can put itself in a position to be in the tournament, because if you get into the tournament, then you never know, man. But I just want to see this team get to the playoffs, and then we'll talk Super Bowls and things like that.
Playoffs? I mean, this is a team that a couple weeks ago was riding a freaking 4-game losing streak, guys. I mean, Super Bowl, let's pump the brakes a little bit. And this is what I'm talking about. You beat the Cowboys handily. My hat's off. You know, congratulations for that. But take it one game at a time. The Broncos are still a very flawed team with a very flawed coaching staff. They put some wins together, then we'll talk about playoffs and go from there.
Long time, legendary, Super Chat superstar, Mount Rushmore. Been a while, but we're just happy to have Duke Boynton back in the chat. He says, send and love, my dudes. Always love the hard work you guys put into this program.
Thank you, Duke.
Appreciate you, brother. Really do. You know we love you. Andrew Baker, hopefully this Dallas win wasn't a fluke and we get some rest after a 6-4 start to the season. Let's hope. Let's hope, big dog. Also, shout out to Albert Knoppers and his wife, Michelle, great friends of ours who we got to hang out with at the meet and greet. He says, as long as Shermer doesn't fall back into his predictive play calling, we should be okay.
It goes for Vic Fangio, too. I mean, he can't go back to being the hands like this, stoic, no passion guy. That had to be a new Vic, the guy who was saying, how about them Broncos after beating the Cowboys? I want to see more of that. And that's what he has to prove going forward, that his shell came off and he finally learned how to take the dominance aspect of the team and exploit that to his advantage.
All right, guys, we got to get out of here. Thank you for joining us tonight. Zach, if you can do the rundown, I'm going to pull up and show our great Facebook community how we finished on Stars.
Yes, this was the Huddle Up podcast. Until we see you guys next time, which is the gut reaction episode on Sunday after the Eagles game, follow the pod on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle. You can follow Chad on Twitter at Chad and Jensen. You can follow myself at Kelberman NFL. Go to huddleuppod.com and get yourself a football priest hat, get yourself a hoodie, coffee cup, anything you want is in that store. Also, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Hit that big blue button for 3 exclusive shows at your fingertips. Kelberman's Corner, Broncos Book Club, and Trickle Zone each and every week. Also, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Like that page. And if you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some swag each and every month. But If you can't do any of those things, just subscribe, like, and share. Helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
And guys, if you have not become a supporter on Facebook of MHH, and that means you go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, big blue button at the top, click it, go through the process of signing up, becoming a supporter. You're going to miss out on the reaction halftime streams for Kelberman's Corner on Sunday, Broncos, Eagles. So go take care of that. Trust us. You're gonna dig that, because then you also get the Trickle Zone on Monday. You also get Broncos Book Club, which is coming back soon, and we're working in some new shows coming very, very soon. But here's how we finished on Facebook, and a shout out to these great supporters. Tim Hoffman at the top. Love it, dude. Travis Tarbox right behind him. Andrew Baker, Andrew Lampy. The battle of the MHH Andrews continues. This one was a dead heat. Doug Raquel. Kirby Caves. That's a newer name. Kirby, welcome. Thank you, buddy. Charlie Young. Lawrence Rivera. James Grossman. Miguel. This is, I think we saw Miguel last night, if I'm not mistaken. Or very recently. So, Miguel, welcome. Thank you, buddy. Lando, don't call me Calrissian Lee in the hizzy. Love you, bud. Gary Leach Palmer, as we fondly call him, GLP. Hope you're recovering well from things, my friend. Colby C. Collier and Yvonne. Much love and respect to each one of you. We're off tomorrow. Dove Valley Deep Divers, Friday night, 6 p.m. Mountain. And then Saturday night, Mile High Insiders. And then we'll be back Sunday for the Gut, as Zach mentioned. But guys, go sign up, become a supporter so you can be in that conversation for the halftime reaction stream with Zach and Kelberman's Corner.
Take care, and as always, guys, go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.